Hello, and welcome to Threat Detection and Response Beyond Your Endpoints. Today's webinar is sponsored by Red Canary and produced by Actual Tech Media. My name is Scott Becker. I'm with Actual Tech Media, and I'm excited to be your moderator for this special event. Now, before we get to today's great content, we do have a few housekeeping items that will help you get the most out of this session. First, we want this to be an informative event for you, so we encourage any questions in the questions box in our webinar control panel. Not only will we have team members responding to questions during the live event, we'll also have a dedicated Q&A session at the end of the presentation where we'll discuss in greater detail some of the top questions that you ask. That Q&A panel is also the place to let us know about any technical issues that you might be experiencing. A browser refresh is going to fix most audio or video or slide advancement issues, but if that doesn't work, just let us know in the Q&A and we'll provide further technical assistance. In the handout section of your webinar control panel, you'll find that we're offering several resources. We have a lot of great resources from Red Canary today. There's a thought-provoking blog about balancing human expertise and human-led security, and machine-led security. There's a case study about the CoStar group involving the use of Red Canary with Microsoft Defender. There's an infographic and a nice 4-page explainer of Red Canary threat investigation. So check all those out. You'll also find a link to the Actual Tech Media Guerrilla Guide book club, where you can get access to Actual Tech Media's great printed resources on technology topics, as well as a link to the ATM Event Center, where you can see a calendar of our upcoming events. So I encourage you to access all of those resources now and share them with your friends and colleagues. Also, at the end of this webinar, we will be awarding a $300 Amazon gift card to one lucky registrant. Of course, you must be in attendance during the live event to qualify for the prize. The official terms and conditions of today's prize drawing can be found in the handout section. Just scroll to the bottom and you'll find the prize terms and conditions link there. Finally, one of the best benefits of this event is the opportunity to ask a question of our expert presenters. To help encourage your questions, we have a special additional prize for you. That's another Amazon gift card, this one for $50 for the best question. So at the end of the event, we'll look at all the questions that have come in, pick out the very best one, and contact that prize winner. And without further ado, let's get straight into today's fantastic content. So it's my pleasure to introduce you to our presenter today, Alex Spiliotis, Senior Product Marketing Manager at Red Canary. Alex, welcome to the webcast. Thanks for being here.
Hey, Scott. Yeah, thanks a lot for the intro. So and thanks everyone for taking the time today. I really appreciate it. You carving time out of your day. And today I'm going to talk to you about threat detection and response beyond your endpoints. And as Scott mentioned, my name is Alex Spiliotis. I'm a senior product marketing manager at Red Canary. And I've been in the security tech, marketing world for a bit now. I worked at an industry analyst firm before Red Canary, as well as at a SIM vendor doing marketing. So today we'll focus on a few things. So first, I'll discuss how MDR extends EDR coverage, and I'll first lay a foundation for why endpoint telemetry and why EDR tooling is kind of critical for a detection and response program, and then how MDR augments EDR coverage. I'll then go into the concrete operational benefits of MDR, as well as a few more subjective but real significant benefits of MDR. And then I'll focus on Red Canary specifically and how we deliver, MDR everywhere, essentially MDR across your enterprise. So yeah, to start, endpoint detection and response capabilities capabilities are necessary for a modern detection and response program. And there are many reasons that's the case, but at its core, EDR technology and endpoint telemetry is the best data source for detecting pre-ransomware activity, and thus giving your organization the best chance at actually stopping a ransomware attack before it causes harm to your organization. And the data kind of supports the prevalence of ransomware currently. So if you look at the Verizon or the 2021 Verizon Data Breach Investigations Report, ransomware was present in 10% of all breaches that they detected. And that's up from 5% the year before. So, ransomware it's not gone away. It's becoming an even more common element of breaches on average and in aggregate. And not only are ransomware attacks common, they're very costly. So in IBM's 2021 cost of a data breach report, they noted that the cost of a ransomware attack on average to an organization is about $4.62 million. And that's notably north of the 4.28 average overall or average cost of a overall breach or the average breach. So not only are ransomware attacks becoming more prevalent, that they are more expensive on average for organizations to deal with than the average breach, which kind of shows how preventing them and detecting them before they cause impact to your business is critical. And this fact and this data is not eluding security leaders. I think rightly, if you look at the data, security leaders, CISOs down to just leaders of small infosec teams are prioritizing endpoint security projects. So 451 Research asked a question to security leaders: what will be your top 3 information security projects over the next 12 months? And the most commonly cited type of project were endpoint security projects. So CISOs have a ton of priorities, but I think it really speaks to the criticality of ensuring that your endpoints are protected by the fact that endpoint security was the most commonly cited project. Looking forward to the next 12 months. But while endpoint security and EDR technology is necessary, it's not sufficient. It's not all encompassing. And this is intuitive, but I think providing an example kind of will drive the point home. So if you look at this timeline on screen, I'll walk through it left to right. So let's say a user receives a phishing email. That user clicks on the malicious URL in the email and downloads files, and malicious scripts start to execute. Then a threat actor establishes an outbound command and control connection, and then a threat actor logs into maybe that organization's network or relevant SaaS apps using compromised legitimate credentials. So in this situation, endpoint telemetry and EDR technology will for sure pick up, or good EDR technology will pick up the file download and the malicious script execution, as well as the established outbound command and control connection. And you need to detect those things. But as this slide highlights, the full scope of activity is not available to an organization just relying on EDR technology. If you wanted to detect this activity earlier, you would want to detect the phishing email being received or the user clicking on the URL in the phishing email. And if you're conducting an investigation, you don't want just slivers of a threat actor's activity. You want the whole picture. So in this case, in order to see the scope of this threat and this threat actor's activity, you would certainly need more than just EDR technology. And this is, analyst firms are noting this. So to quote a Forrester blog from last year, EDR is a well-known and valuable tool for incident responders. However, EDR still lacks the complete picture of an attack. And that's really what core elements of a strong detection and response program are: obviously detecting threats as early as possible, and if you suffer an incident, understanding the full scope of the incident as quickly as possible. So, and yeah, just to explicitly say a few of the main benefits of getting beyond the endpoint visibility and being able to integrate beyond the endpoint data and information to your detection and response program, a few key benefits come to mind. So first, you do need visibility into non-endpoint attacks, and you'll get that from, for example, network data, email data, identity data. Again, you'll identify attackers earlier the more that you can integrate beyond the endpoint data into your detection and response program. You'll reduce investigation and response time, both because you can respond faster, but also because you can more quickly determine what's actually going on in your environment when you have the full picture up front, rather than having to stitch it together slowly over time. And so, again, security leaders know that, yes, endpoint security and EDR is a critical technology, but that's security leaders these days have tens of security tools, right? So everyone is well aware that you need different security tools to get different inputs to your detection and response program, and to get the data you need to detect threats early. So a natural response is to buy relevant security point products to get you the information you need and to alert you to specific threats in individual lanes. But as I think security leaders have learned and are learning, just because you have the right tools in place in your organization doesn't mean you understand the complete picture. And that can be very frustrating for CISOs and people leading security teams. I mean, and it's the reason that the tools don't just automatically yield desired security outcomes and detecting threats early and understanding the full scope of attacks. There are a few key reasons. So the first one is teams are overwhelmed with alerts. The concept of alert fatigue is getting a ton of attention in the industry. And ultimately, if you have a never-ending queue of alerts where even your high priority alerts are often false positives, and you can never make it through your alert queue, there are going to be signals from your EDR tools, from your network tools and other tools that are buried in the queue that won't be surfaced to your attention just because there are just too many alerts to get through, on a day-to-day basis. And that's very frustrating for leaders when, especially if there's signal buried in noise that they maybe could have detected, but they couldn't just because there are just too many alerts to get through on a given day. Kind of another impediment to kind of turning your security tools into security outcomes are staffing issues. And again, the security staffing shortage gets a lot of attention. If you're on this call, you're probably experiencing it acutely. But even if you're pretty efficient at getting through your alerts, you're often security teams are often operating short-staffed these days. Maybe you just can't you can't fill the seats because your A players or your top performers are getting poached, or you've had open headcount for months. The teams often don't have the number of people needed to bring information from across different security tools into one place to sort through efficiently. And lastly, again, even if you are pretty diligent and efficient with going through alerts and you have a full team, it takes specific expertise and experience to find signals quickly from across your tools and make sense of them, right? Just having enough bodies won't get you to that outcome of detecting threats earlier and understanding kind of the full scope, the full story of a threat. You really need people with experience, and that experience is really hard to come by. So the question that's kind of at play here is, how do you turn your tools into security outcomes, right? If you have the tool set, you ultimately need to know, or you need to get from just having the relevant tools to having to yielding the desired outcomes, to really having a high functioning detection and response program. Give me 1 second. Sorry, I'm having a power issue. I'll be back in a sec. Okay, good to go. Thank you. So managed detection and response, or MDR, delivers security outcomes. And I think this conceptual graphic on screen from Gartner and Gartner's 2021 MDR market guide kind of depicts the core elements of an MDR offering pretty well. So what MDR providers do, or good MDR providers do, is they take data from across your security tools and they, at a minimum, provide a few things. So first, via data and analytics, threat intel, and reporting, they will detect incidents that your organization would otherwise not detect. And this is what good providers do. These providers will provide 24/7 security monitoring and coverage. Again, they'll detect incidents that because they have expertise and headcount that your organization might not be able to detect on its own. When they detect something, they'll investigate. And again, at a minimum, an MDR provider you're considering needs to be able to disrupt or contain a threat, in real time. And again, this last core capability, threat hunting, good MDR providers are doing continuous threat hunting. Based on information that they have, they can retroactively look at data from your organization and be constantly investigating, hey, is there something that this organization missed? Is there something that we can now detect based on new information to better protect this organization? So, and if you're a security leader, particularly if you have to justify security spend to your organization, to your CEO, to your CFO, to the board, you need outcomes, right? You need to be able to show specific results of your investments in order to rationalize the spending on not just security tools, but MDR services and providers. And MDR really does deliver concrete benefits to organizations that leaders can use to justify the relationship. So first, a good MDR provider has to be able to tell you what are the key security metrics you're trying to measure. So let's say it's security specific, mean time to detect and mean time to respond. What is the baseline that your organization is at upon day one of retaining an MDR service provider? And they should be able to help you track your improvement. This is extremely valuable, right? It's very hard to do on your own, but a good MDR provider can baseline your organization at the outset of the relationship, compare you to their customer base on average, but also their customer base split by industry, right? So if you're a financial services organization or a healthcare organization, you want to know, hey, how is the speed of my program or across other metrics, how is my organization comparing to my industry at large, and how do I get better and close the gap or increase my lead? So next is operational efficiency, right? Just pure ROI. So a good MDR provider will be able to take on work, or you'll be able to offload work from your organization to an MDR provider. And if it's a good provider, they'll apply a combination of proprietary software engineering, automation, but also human expertise to do a lot more work than your organization will be able to do in-house and for a much lower cost. So the value that you're getting from an MDR provider relative to trying to build those capabilities in-house is crystal clear, and the MDR provider should be able to relay that to you so that you can elevate it to your CFO, to your CEO, to your board, to show the value you're getting in concrete financial terms. And lastly, this is a more subjective or squishier benefit, but it's one that Red Canary's customers cite frequently, and that's confidence. So again, if you're leading a security team and you have to report on your organization's progress and status, you want confidence when you're doing so, particularly when you're reporting north in your organization. And a good MDR provider will, through its helping you baseline your pre-service relationship and your post and ongoing metrics as the relationship progresses, by showing those improvements, by showing the dollar value that you're saving by investing in the MDR service relative to building capabilities in-house, and by just the core elements of providing 24/7 coverage by the best of software engineering and human expertise applied to securing your organization, you can enter into discussions with senior leaders at your company or peers with confidence, knowing that, hey, my organization is protected, and I can prove it to you, looking at these metrics and how we've improved over time. And so now switching to Red Canary specifically, so Red Canary delivers MDR everywhere. That is MDR across the enterprise, and our MDR capability is really based on 5 pillars, which I'll touch on briefly here. So first is 24/7 monitoring and support. We like any good MDR provider cover our customers around the clock. When our customers check out for the day, when they're on their vacations, on weekends, Red Canary is operating in full force, right? And that is something that gives our customers a ton of confidence. Next is advanced threat detection. So Red Canary detects threats that organizations or tools would otherwise miss, and I'll describe in a few slides how actually we do that. But it's again doing what an MDR provider needs to do, which is taking in raw telemetry, alerts, information from across your security stack, and using our software and our human expertise, distilling signal from noise and only bringing real threats to the customer's attention, right? We, in detecting things that other organizations or tools otherwise can't, we handle a ton of what you can consider back-end work, so that when we come to you with a threat, it's something you really need to consider. And just going a little bit further down, so for Linux protection is another notable element of our advanced threat detection. We have a very lightweight Linux EDR sensor, and we offer MDR on Linux devices, and with very low latency. So using our sensor, we get the data we need to provide advanced threat detection from your Linux endpoints without risking any sort of disruption to your production systems. Next is threat investigation and intel. So again, we're not just detecting threats for you, for our customers. We're investigating threats, making sure that what is suspicious, confirming whether it's actually benign or really malicious, and we're sorting through a ton of data, and I have a slide on this later, to take in as much noise as we can, because we're so good at distilling signal from it. We don't want to miss any threats, which is why we take in so much data from our customers' environments, and our skill is in actually investigating threats and determining not just what is a threat, but also the severity level of a threat. We also apply proprietary threat intelligence to our detections, right? So we're constantly improving our detections based on our threat intelligence, but we also provide customers adversary profiles and threat intelligence in our product portal, so that you can better understand what are trending, what threats are trending, what threats your organization is well covered from, where you might want to collaborate with us on how to improve your coverage, but really applying proprietary threat intelligence to our detection and response program so that you benefit from it. And next is response and remediation. So we at Red Canary, we want to meet customers wherever they are in terms of their desired response and remediation capabilities and appetite. So no matter what, Red Canary, when we detect a threat and we raise it to your organization's attention, we will work with you 24/7, in lockstep, until we get your organization back to where it needs to be. Some organizations are more forward-leaning, and they want to automate as much response as possible to threats, and we have the tools for them to do so in our product. So we have very easy to use security orchestration, automation, and response capabilities built into our platform, so that should a customer want to automate, the isolation of endpoints associated with a confirmed threat, we make it very easy for them to do so, and we help customers in their kind of automation journey, helping them set up playbooks to automate response as much as they would desire. And lastly, we know from experience that some customers just want Red Canary to do it for them. And we will provide remediation across customer endpoints for them. So our active remediation offering is one in which customers get our most comprehensive blend of automation playbooks and human expertise, such that when we detect a threat, if you have active remediation, our experts kick into gear and provide hands-on keyboard support and remediation across your endpoints, when something is detected. And lastly is testing and validation. So it's no good to have lots of analytics if you're not constantly determining their accuracy and their effectiveness. And we are constantly creating new detectors based on new threat intelligence and new information we see across threats, but we're also making sure that the detectors we've created in the past are still performing to the desired accuracy and detection level. And that's just all to say, we don't create like set it and forget it analytics. We're always making sure that analytics we've created and that we continue to create are performing for our customer organizations the way that we need them to. And so I alluded to this earlier, but XDR is very much a buzzword these days. But the way we think about it at Red Canary is that we built an XDR platform so that we could provide MDR, managed detection and response, as a service. So we don't get too complicated in how we view XDR. Essentially, we take in data from certainly from endpoints, but from network tools, identity tools, email tools, and SaaS apps. We take data from all those tools, we bring them into our platform. Our software and human experts analyze this data to provide better detection and response for our customers. That, I think, keeping it that simple helps you understand how, if you're in the market for XDR and that's what you want, we have an XDR platform and we provide our service on top of that platform. And again, I think just to keep it even more simple. So as I said, we take a ton of data from your environment. We remove the noise. You don't have to deal with the noise. We take care of it on our side. And we determine what from what can often be a very noisy security stack, what are the actual threats? What are the actual signals? And not only do we do that, we on average tend to detect about 5x more threats than security tools do on their own, right? So it's less noise and more detections faster for customers. And as everyone on this call probably knows, it's no good to detect things quickly and confirm they're a threat if, in fact, you can't respond quickly. So Red Canary understands this, and as a result, we've built our software, our automation, and our human expertise to dramatically reduce customers' mean time to respond. And I think this chart is pretty revealing for that. So this customer is a very large enterprise. They deployed Red Canary in Q4 of 2019. And by the end of Q1 2020, we had reduced their mean time to respond by 10x across all incidents in their organization. And this organization was pretty forward-leaning. They wanted to create as many automation playbooks as they could to respond as quickly as possible, and we collaborated with them on that. And yeah, they were very much able to take the easy-to-use SOAR technology that we have in our platform and see tremendous MTTR benefits and reduction in a very short amount of time. And so on screen is kind of architecturally how Red Canary works. So starting at the kind of the top left gray box. So these are the sources of raw source telemetry that Red Canary takes in. So we take in raw telemetry from EDR platforms, from production systems, and more recently Microsoft Office 365, and that source, those sources of raw telemetry are expanding. So we continue to expand the tools from which we're taking raw telemetry and the sources of it. We apply proprietary analytics to the raw telemetry, and that data makes its way through our Autobots, as we call them, the software we've created to very quickly determine what might be a threat and what might not be. And our human detection engineer experts will review the relevant information from the source telemetry. Going kind of back to the bottom, we also take in alerts from your security tools, and we take valuable information from those alerts that you send to us. So most recently, we're very focused on network, email, and identity alerts and information from those tools, but we've broadened well beyond that already, and we'll continue to broaden the tools from which we take alerts. And when you send us an alert from these tools on screen, we correlate information between them. We tie them to any suspicious activity we've detected from your organization's raw telemetry that we connect. But regardless, whether you're sending us raw source telemetry or alerts, we determine what is actually relevant, what's actually a threat, and we collaborate with you on how you want us to alert you when we really detect a problem. So there are playbooks we can set up, and you can customize how you want to engage with us when we detect something that went wrong. And again, we have a range of response options. We can guide you through your response and remediation. We can automate as much of your response as you'd like. And if you want us to remediate threats on your endpoints for you, we'll do that as well. And so this Red Canary by the Numbers graphic that I'll walk you through is actually available in our product. Some of the financial elements are not available in the product, but we want to show customers how much of their environment we're using to determine what's a threat and what's not. And this Red Canary by the Numbers report that we provide in our product is pretty helpful for that. So if you look at this, approximately 10,000 employee organization we'll be talking about, we take in over 50 billion telemetry records, and that's across source telemetry, but also alerts. Then our software determines of all that telemetry, what is suspicious, what could be, what is for sure just noise, but what could be signal. And next, our software determines, what of all those events that we're reviewing is actually significant. And if you think about this, so if costs range, of course, but let's say you're paying an analyst $50 an hour. Taking suspicious activity and turning it into, what you might need even more investigation on, or what you need to dive deeper on, that's possibly 4,000 events that an analyst might have to comb through, which is tremendously expensive. And Red Canary software does that on the back end without having to engage your analysts in this process. And next, we actually determine what is a threat, right? And so we starting with over 50 billion telemetry records, we're getting down to about 75 detections. These could be of all severity levels, but again, this is where our humans come in. That red dot, right before the column I just brought on screen. So our humans will review the very suspicious activity that could be a threat, and we bring our experts in here to again determine really what is signal, right? We want to use software and automation as much as possible to take what is noise and turn it into relevant data for our security experts, and that's where they come in. They come in to review information that is very likely a threat, and determine what is a threat and what isn't. And lastly, so by the time we get to what is a high severity attack or a high severity threat, the work that we've done on the back end with our software and human experts would otherwise cost an organization of this size almost $2 million. And when you compare that to the cost of Red Canary, the ROI, it can be pretty tremendous. And again, we're not just it's the combination of taking as much noise as possible from your tools, us determining what is signal and what matters to you, and then alerting you to the real threats and helping you respond as fast as possible. Right? That's kind of what we do, and I think this chart shows our process and the data flow pretty well. And I just to kind of end the presentation, zoom out a bit. I think it's important to focus on how customers feel about Red Canary and what a customer had to say. So this customer, Schumacher Homes, has Red Canary, and they actually also have Red Canary Active Remediation, the service in which our experts provide hand-on keyboard response or hands-on keyboard remediation across your endpoints. And Will McCann, the director of IT at Schumacher Homes, described Red Canary as feeling like they're working directly next to you and like adding a full security team of 5 to 10 people. We love hearing that, and I encourage you. I don't know if it's a handout, but there's a case study on our website with Schumacher Homes. Because of the amount of work that Schumacher Homes was able to offload to Red Canary, they were for the first time able to start an employee security training program. And they told us that they based the foundational content of this program was based on what they learned from working with Red Canary. And that's just awesome. Like we obviously want to do as much as possible for our customers as we can. So we're very happy that they're happy with Red Canary and our MDR service. But it gets us even more excited that because of what we're doing for our customer organizations, they can build in-house security capabilities. Essentially, we interpret that to mean that we're leaving organizations better off, than when they started, and that's what we want. We were very invested in improving security across organizations broadly. So that kind of that tidbit about Schumacher Homes was super exciting to us. All right, and that's the end of my presentation. Scott, do we have any questions?
We do, yeah. And Alex, great presentation, really great explainer on the relationship of your XDR to your managed detection and response offerings, and how that translates to both efficiency and ROI. And I also have to say I'm glad you had that power issue, because we were able to see that cool Red Canary on your shirt, which is below the camera. So.
That was got to be on brand, Scott. Got to be on brand.
There you go. And before we do get into questions, I just want to point out that Alex's colleague Jim has been answering some questions in chat. So be sure to check the Q&A feed, as well as listening to us here, because there's some detailed answers in there from Jim to some of the questions that you had. I know we had responses to questions from Bill, Tiffany, and Bradford. So check those out. But Alex, let's get to some more of the questions. You had some slides with a lot of the vendors that you work with, but I wonder if you could talk a little bit about what types of vendors you work with. Like especially when you talk about a company like Microsoft, they have so many different products. It's like, what categories of tools are you integrating with and working with?
Yeah, so we integrate with a very broad array of tools. I'd say we started out focusing primarily on EDR tools. So that's kind of, I think, what gave Red Canary its name was the value added on top of EDR tools, and again, Red Canary being able to detect things that EDR tools missed. That's how we started, but we're much more than that. I'd say the categories of tools we've focused on most in the past few months are network, email, and identity tools. So you can think about Palo Alto Networks, Okta, Fortinet, obviously Microsoft, Proofpoint. We need data from these tools to help us continue providing best in class MDR. yeah, those are the tools we've focused most recently on, but I can say we've added integrations for cloud infrastructure monitoring tools, from industrial control systems tools, in the past 3 weeks, a month, I believe. So we're really broadening the scope of tools we integrate with and data sources that we analyze.
Okay, great. Yeah, so network, email, and identity primarily, with some more stuff coming in. So that's great. Um, why do you distinguish between alerts and raw telemetry?
Yeah, that's a good question. And so if you think about an alert is in a tool, and it has to be tuned for a balance of a true positive rate and a false positive rate, right? So thinking about the extremes, a security tool that has no false positives is going to just create a ton of, or excuse me, is going to have very high fidelity alerts, but miss a ton of things because not every alert detects a threat, right? On the other end, right, security tools um, can't provide a deluge of false positives. So tools and the people making the tools have to make a decision: what amount of noise are we okay with for this tool, right? What percentage of false positives? The benefit of Red Canary and sending raw telemetry to Red Canary is that we apply our proprietary analytics on these tools, and we don't. The customer doesn't have to deal with the false positives. We take care of all that on our end because of how we've engineered the software elements of our solution, so that when we provide a detection to a customer, they know it's a threat, and that can be based on raw telemetry, which we started initially as a company detecting and responding on, but now alerts too, right? So we want both source telemetry or raw telemetry and alerts, but we very much value the raw telemetry, particularly from endpoint products and SaaS apps, because we can deal with the noise on our end and ensure that the tool itself that might be missing threats. If you send us the raw telemetry and we apply our analytics, we don't have to deal with that same balance that a tool does. You give us the data and we can relay the detection and what really is a threat.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask you about something related. I'll just pop back to a slide. I thought this was a really an impressive case study, but the all incidents is showing the most dramatic drop in mean time to response. Is that mostly through automation there, that you're able to isolate the low priority ones and even remediate them, or what accounts for that?
I'll say so. The automation allows us to reduce MTTR across high severity and low severity incidents, right? So this particular customer, if you confirm a threat on a user or an endpoint, and you just want to isolate those endpoints from your network, like that could be a very high severity event depending on what information that user has access to, right? So that's a high severity event where that benefits from an automated response for sure. But as I'm sure many of the people on this call know, there are so many low and mid severity alerts as well that an organization has to, the tools relay to an organization. Using automation, we were able to reduce the time spent on those incidents by a ton, right? Basically to the point where the alert queue and the MTTR is almost indistinguishable from high severity and low severity. You can just interpret that as us using automation to take care of a ton of the noise in this customer's environment.
Gotcha. Great. Thanks for the clarification on that. How do you tell the customers the full story of a threat?
Yeah, so the way we do that is with a unified timeline. So we, again, on the back end are processing a tremendous amount of data from across tools. But when we determine what a threat is to a customer, we want to make it really easy for them to understand. And a way we do that is with our threat timeline. So on our threat timeline, when we publish a threat to the customer and we notify them of a threat, we'll show them all related events from their endpoint, network, email, identity tools, the ones we're performing threat investigation on, we surface only the relevant info to the customer in a threat timeline, but also the full scope based on the data that we're seeing, right? So it's not just what processes are happening on an endpoint. It's maybe the proof you received a phishing email at this time. A network connection, outbound network connection was established at this time. Then we detected this suspicious behavior on your endpoints. And then there was a login, in Microsoft Office 365 using credentials that that were compromised, right? So we show on a timeline in a very easy to understand way, the events across your tools that inform our threat detection.
Gotcha. And with those stories, is that all automated, or do you use some of your your human assets, for lack of a better term, to
that's
flesh
great.
those out?
Yes, so we do. So I'm not sure off the top of my head what the percentage is, but when we're presenting a threat, particularly a complex threat across many data sources informed by data from many tools, that is human validated. So our detection engineers confirm that it's a threat before we publish it to the customer. So basically, a threat from Red Canary is not just a threat from another software tool. That because of the human element and the human expertise that we apply in our detection and investigation process, there's a human validated element to the published threat.
Very cool. This next question, Bradford was asking about the active remediation. I wonder if you can go into some more detail about active remediation, how that works and what it does.
Yeah. So for active remediation is a pretty recent offering. It's in the last 6 months from Red Canary, and basically what we learned from customers is our evolution was, first, let's provide premium detection and detection and investigation capabilities and help our customers respond. And basically, customers have kept saying, we want you to do more. We want you to do more. And first, that manifested in the automation capabilities that I discussed, right? So Red Canary integrating with tools you need to respond and making it easy for the customer to just basically say, if malicious threat is detected on these endpoints, then isolate endpoints. So that type of easy to understand response action. But customers, even ones who've really adopted our automation capabilities, again, want us to do more. And what active remediation is when we detect a threat, our incident handling team, so our team of incident handling experts with kind of thousands of hours of incident response experience, kick into gear, and will take hands-on keyboard actions in your environment to remediate threats for you. And the reason people wanted that was because you can do a lot with automation, but sometimes let's say you isolate endpoints from a network. A threat actor might have left other malicious files in your environment. They might have established a way for, once you boot them out, for them to easily get back in. And you kind of need human expertise looking around and basically applied to an incident in the moment. And that's what active remediation is. It's hands-on keyboard support, 24/7 support on remediating threats on customers' endpoints. Okay.
All right, great. A couple of licensing questions. One has to do with, should people think of this as, based on your pricing is more of like a CapEx or an OpEx kind of solution?
That's a good question. I don't know. I don't want to speak imprecisely. I don't know, Jim, if you're on the line, do you know the answer to that? If not, we can get this, whoever's asking the answer to the question for sure.
Okay, great. Yeah. And the other related question was, a lot of the examples are sort of, big enterprises with a lot of telemetry and good sized budgets. Do you have solutions for SMBs? Is this something that SMBs can benefit from?
Yeah, and thanks for asking that. So absolutely, the example I gave in kind of the Red Canary by the numbers was, relatively large organization, but yeah, we absolutely serve SMBs, and a lot of times we find that SMBs, they might have fewer tools, or maybe they have a lot of tools, maybe they don't, but they really want to feel like they have someone else serving as their SOC, as their security operations center, and that's the
Yeah.
role that we provide for many SMBs, is kind of serving as their SOC.
Gotcha. All right, great. Well, Alex, I appreciate your patience. You've sat here in the hot seat for questions for quite a while, so I want to sort of let you off of there. But any parting thoughts or suggestions for people who want to get started with Red Canary?
Yeah, I think if you're interested in Red Canary, absolutely reach out on our website. You can I think you can request specifically to speak with sales, or if you want a demo, those are I think readily available on our website. Yeah, I think those are the best next steps if you're interested in Red Canary. But yeah, and otherwise you can always reach out to me on LinkedIn or via some other way if you have a question, and if I don't have the answer, I'll track it down for you. So I encourage you to do that.
Okay, sounds good. Well, Alex, thanks so much for being here. Really appreciate your time and all the information. This has been great.
Yep. Thank you, Scott. And thanks everyone for taking the time. I appreciate it.
And before we wrap up, we do have one more piece of business, and that is the $300 Amazon gift card prize drawing. And the winner of the gift card is William O'Connell from Massachusetts. So congratulations to William. We'll be in touch to get you your card. And with that, on behalf of the Actual Tech Media team, I want to thank Red Canary for making this event possible. And thanks again also to all of you for attending and for all of your great questions. That concludes today's event. Have a great rest of your day.